Overtime on 1620 The Zone. Shock the system. Welcome to the After Hours Lounge on 1620 The Zone, the 1620 The Zone app, and 1620thezone.com. When 6A to 6P isn't enough, the boys have you covered. Here's Jimmy Allen
and John Schreiner.
Welcome into the After Hours Lounge on a Thursday night. We appreciate everybody making us a part of your evening. Go ahead and punch in the night shift. Follow us on Twitter at After Hours 1620. Head over to our YouTube page, leave a comment, and talk about anything we are discussing tonight, such as a letter from a alleged player. Do we believe it was written by a real football player? Do we believe that college football is dying? We'll debate that at 6:15. Two coaches from the pro ranks and the college ranks that we believe will either be fired or firmly on the hot seat following the 2025 football season. And we'll buy or sell on several different topics around the sporting world tonight. Screw the hockey corner. John Schreiner's not here tonight. Dan and I are talking hoops. We're going to break down the NBA playoff race and two very exciting series that didn't push out to be that way before the start of the playoffs, and what looked like could be sweeps could be going the other direction in a 4-0 ledger. We'll also talk to Brian Munson from Husker Online to get all his thoughts on everything going on in the Husker sphere. Obviously, the news of grandfathered roster spots come in yesterday. We'll get Brian's thoughts on that and a whole lot more. 402-951-1620 is where you can get a hold of the show. Like, as I mentioned, no John Schreiner tonight, just Jimmy Allen and Dan Campion with you here this evening. And Dan, it's list season, and our good friend Paul Myberg from USA Today lists the top 18 coaches in the the 18 coaches in
18.
order. Yeah, the coaches in order of the Big Ten. And
I guess they would be the top 18 coaches, though.
Technically correct, just very weirdly worded. But Ryan Day undoubtedly is number one, coming off of a national championship win.
Fair, but boo.
I wonder if a Big Ten coach had not won a national title last year, if Ryan Day, let's say, they get bounced by Tennessee in the first round, I wonder how much different, let's say Oregon or Penn State doesn't go on to win the Natty either. I wonder how much different this list is, because now there are only 3 current head coaches in the entire country that have won a national championship: Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney. There's not not an active coach in the nation with a national championship next to their name as a head coach. Obviously, Penn State makes the Final Four last year. That puts James Franklin firmly at 2. And you would expect that would put Dan Lanning firmly at 3 on this list. But USA Today and Paul Myberg have Kirk Ferentz as the 3rd best coach in the Big Ten. Now, tenure matters. He's obviously the most tenured Big Ten coach in the conference. But Iowa hasn't won a conference championship in 20 years. Dan Lanning, who comes in at 4th on this list, won a conference championship in year number 1 of being in the Big Ten. He was also the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs and seemingly ushered Oregon into the Big Ten era without any issues. Now,
Kirk Ferentz at 3 makes sense, though.
Really?
Yeah, so you have to give, and I know all the Iowa haters, myself included, out there.
Do you agree with top 2 then? Do you agree with Franklin and Day at 1 and 2?
Not really.
Okay, so what would be your top 3 then?
My top 3 would probably be Day, Lanning.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't put Kirk Ferentz at 3, but I'm giving USA Today the benefit of the doubt. My 3rd would be James Franklin, due to the actual on-the-field success that
the way
he's
the
had.
last decade has gone for those 3 coaches.
But I can understand them putting Kirk Ferentz at 3 because while he hasn't won a conference championship in a long time, he is probably the most steady and consistent out of all the Big Ten coaches. Ryan Day has had his ups and downs. Hell, before the season last year, we thought James Franklin was going to get the, boot to butt and get kicked out the door.
Well, Ryan,
or I should say, I thought James Franklin was going to get booted.
I think you could say Ryan Day has been more consistent than Kirk Ferentz. I mean, his only loss in Big Ten play before last season was to Michigan. So I mean
fair.
that's about. But again, we're also putting him as the unanimous number 1. And I don't know, like, it's really interesting. Like, does this list change if Dan Lanning does win a national championship? Does he firmly get number one? If like a lot of people feel like this might be the last year for Kirk Ferentz at Iowa City too. And I think that's very intriguing, right? I think a lot of that is because, in my opinion, I don't think Kirk Ferentz is a top 5 coach in the Big Ten.
Whoa. Okay.
My 5 would be Ryan Day, Dan Lanning, James Franklin. I think Curt Cignetti has done enough in year one to at Indiana of all places to solidify himself as number 4. Lincoln Riley is in the Big Ten. Do we forget about this? Or we like they put Lincoln Riley at 9 on this list. Lincoln Riley is behind Brett Bielema, who I think I might put at 5. PJ Fleck, who I might put at 6. Curt Cignetti at 6. Matt Rule at 5. Matt Rule comes at 5th on this list. Matt Rule has had 1 winning season at Nebraska. And he's listed 5th on this list. Ahead of Curt Cignetti, who, by the way, hung about 105 points on Matt Rule this season. And has already made the college football playoff in year 1. Also, PJ Fleck at 7, who has owned Nebraska. Now, listen, obviously it's not the same as it had been in the Big Ten West and the East. Comes in at 7 on this list. Like, they won 8 games last year, and I don't know if people really respect the coaching job that PJ Fleck did at Minnesota last year. There was a lot of people that are calling for his head before the season started a year ago. But it's probably really hard to gauge where to put Jedd Fisch in his first year at Washington because he had to replace a lot, had the opposite of the Curt Cignetti effect, and didn't get to bring a ton with him from Arizona to Washington. And he comes in at 15th on this list, behind Sharon Moore, behind Barry Odom, and behind Jonathan Smith and Luke Fickell. Schiano at 10, okay, you could get me there. But if you're going to give Kirk Ferentz the 10-year bump up to 3, I definitely think you got to put Greg Schiano in the top 7. Like, for the coaching job that he has done at Rutgers, maybe it doesn't equate to the wins and losses, but from a pure coaching standpoint, it's really hard for me to look at when you, like, from a standpoint of just tenure and put some of those coaches behind some. I don't know if anybody would have the success that Greg Schiano has had at Rutgers. Now, it's really interesting that what do you do with Brett Bielema, right? Because I don't think he's a top 5 coach, but you could convince me there. And USA Today has him at 8. And if you're going to put Cignetti at 6 for year 1 and the dominance that he had and not put him ahead of Matt Rule, and all the success that Brett Bielema has had at both Illinois and at Wisconsin, to put him at 8, this is just a testament to how good the coaching in the Big Ten is right now.
Well, and I love they wrote a blurb for every coach.
Yeah.
And for Brett Bielema, they're like, after his 5-year failed run at Arkansas, he had won 68 games and led teams to 3 Rose Bowl appearances within his 7 seasons at Wisconsin. And then they go on to be like, he's got so much momentum and he's got a veteran squad. And I'm like, then why didn't you put him higher on this list?
I thought it was really interesting that they put Barry Odom, the new head coach at Purdue, at 13, despite never coaching a Big Ten game. Now, he's had a ton of success at UNLV, right? 19-8 in his 2 seasons there. And we all know about the situation with the quarterback a year ago. But to put Sharon Moore behind him and the aforementioned Jedd Fisch behind him, I think is really interesting. Now, we're going to get into our hot seat market here in a little bit. There's a lot of people that feel like Mike Locksley is coaching for his job at Maryland this year. He's still ahead of Deshaun Foster, who turned around that UCLA program later in the season, and they put David Braun, who a lot of people thought was the next hot young coach in coaching, 18th or AKA last in the Big Ten. I don't think David Braun is the worst coach in this conference.
No, not at all. After the his quick turnaround, specifically in getting that job in 23 and then having to basically pick up the pieces after the Pat Fitzgerald firing and the way that he coached that team to 8 wins. And then last year coaching them only to 4. I still don't think you put him at 18th on this list.
If you throw in the 6-6 year at Ohio State, the 1 year he was the interim head coach at Ohio State,
Mm-hmm.
Luke Fickell's 18-19 all time as a Big Ten coach. And it's listen, it's one thing to go 18-19 at Purdue. It's one thing to go 18-19 at Northwestern.
Yeah.
He's gone 18-19 with Wisconsin and Ohio State talent.
Yeah.
You could make the argument to me that Luke Fickell may be the worst coach in the Big Ten. Because if you can't win with Ohio State talent and you completely come in and change and transform what Wisconsin football was, and it doesn't even look like a shell of itself anymore, that's a coaching/culture problem.
Yeah, Luke Fickell is much too high on this list just because he's been so up and down.
Yeah.
And
he's at 11.
He's throwing darts at the dartboard right now and seeing what will actually stick kind of in the whole thing. Like, I don't think that Luke Fickell is a better coach than Sherrone Moore. I don't think
he's a better coach than Barry Odom.
I don't think he's a better coach than David Braun is in general. Because at least Braun at least has the up on the wall excuse of, I'm coaching at Northwestern. I did it in year 1, got the 8 wins, failed last year, but the roster attrition that they had coming into that 2024 season was astronomical. They lost a million key pieces and they had no idea what they were going to do as a team.
Here's what irritates.
It leads it to 4 wins.
Here's what irritates me about the whole list and the whole article. It's specifically about Luke Fickell. They compare Luke Fickell to Lincoln Riley, and it says, like Riley, Fickell has struggled since joining the Big Ten with major fanfare. After turning Cincinnati into a Group 5 powerhouse and reaching college football's playoff, Fickell has gone 12-13 in 2 full seasons with the Badgers, including last year's team ending a run of 22 consecutive bowl appearances with the program's first losing record since 2001. How do you compare Luke Fickell to Lincoln Riley when Lincoln Riley won 11 games in his first season at USC? Lincoln Riley almost won as many games in year 1 at USC than Luke Fickell has in 2 years combined.
Yep.
That doesn't seem like a very fair comparison to me.
No, and yeah, it makes no sense. Because Lincoln Riley's kind of like a cat when it comes to coaching. He's going
to land on his feet, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's a couple of weird years. He's fallen down, but then he's going to land on his feet and he's going to get them underneath him and figure out how to game plan for a Big Ten offense and defense. He's one of those guys too where he's better than the majority of coaches just on paper.
He comes up later in the show and on one of my lists tonight. I'm excited to talk about it. I got a theory on Lincoln Riley, and I'm excited to get to that later in the show. If you missed the opening segment and missed USA Today ranking the top 18 coaches in the Big Ten, check it out at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620. It was brought to you by Allo Fiber. Allo goes beyond internet, bringing fast, reliable speeds with an all-fiber network. Allo goes beyond customer service as well, with expectations, with local teammates, no robots, zero. You're going to talk to 24/7 customer support with people right here in the Omaha area. Check out allofiber.com. You're in the Ralston or Papillion area and you're looking for new internet service, Allo Fiber's digging in your neighborhood. Check out Allo Fiber to find out when you can hook up services tonight. A letter to football. We'll address it when we come back. 1620 The Zone.
Do you ponder the matter of things?
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. It's nice outside. You planning on getting out on the links anytime soon? Is your wardrobe outdated? Maybe you don't have any fun golf shirts to go out to the golf charity outings and hit the circuit this summer. We've got you covered at Jerry Ryan. Stop by and check out the new line from Rome. There's different designs on the shirts that are fun that you can match with the pants and be the best dressed guy out on the links at your summer golf outing this year. Check out Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear, centrally located on 78th and Dodge. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years.
You can get a great craft beer pretty much anywhere these days. But what about the whole package? Dining out, service, and atmosphere? Come to Cunningham's Pub and Grill, home of Omaha's original smoked wings, now with 2 locations. We're bringing back Sundays at our Old Mill location this fall, where you can catch all the sports while enjoying quality food and drinks. Find your flavor and follow us online for unique daily specials and fun craft beer events. Cunningham's Pub and Grill in Old Mill and now Blackstone.
Did you know that Bellevue University is making a major investment in its athletic programs with a new $25 million athletic center? This state-of-the-art facility will feature multiple practice and competition courts, a modern 6,800 square foot sports performance and fitness center, an advanced golf simulator, and a new lounge area for our student athletes. The athletic center will open in early 2025. Come see the future of Bruin athletics. Schedule a tour, meet with other athletes, and explore Bellevue University for yourself. Visit BUBruins.com.
Did that trash or recycling truck roll by your house without stopping again? Hi, I'm Megan with Papillion Sanitation. At Papillion Sanitation, trash and recycling is our passion. From residential to commercial, we've cleaned up Omaha and surrounding areas for more than 30 years. So if your home or business needs reliable, friendly, trash, or recycle service, check out papillion-sanitation.com today and see how our customer service and professionalism can't be matched. Head over to papillion-sanitation.com to upgrade your trash or recycling service today.
You are listening to After Hours with Jimmy Allen on 1620 The Zone.
I remember when I lost my mind.
Welcome back to the After Hours Lounge on a Thursday night here, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu. You can register for classes. You can attend Bellevue this fall. There's no classes on Fridays. You can do most of your classes online. Check out bellevue.edu and register for classes tonight. Dan, talking about Luke Fickell in the last segment got me to think. There was a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, that came calling for Luke Fickell after his college football playoff run at Cincinnati. And rightfully so, right? Took a Group of 5 school to the college football playoff when there wasn't an automatic bid at the time. And it got me to thinking, how much will we got to go get the young, hot, upstart Group of 5 coach to a Power 5 school change with the automatic bid being put into the playoff? Because it kind of lowers the carrot a little bit, right? Like there's a spot for them already. So does it have the same exact appeal that it did previously? Spencer Danielson, obviously, the head coach of Boise State this year, got the Broncos to a 12-2 season in the college football playoff. He will be back at Boise State next season. Now, there's a couple things there, right? It's not only did they qualify as the Group of 5 school with the best record as a conference champion, he also had Ashton Genty.
Yes.
So Spencer Danielson's going to be a unique case study over the next 2 to 3 years. Obviously, Boise State has been one of the most successful Group of 5 schools in general anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it look like for Spencer Danielson at Boise State without Ashton Genty? And obviously, he took over as an interim coach. He's off to a 15-3 start. He's made the college football playoff already. He's got a conference championship under his belt. If Boise State is back in the college football playoff this year, how quickly do people come calling for a 36-year-old head coach out of Boise State?
The minute after they lose the college football playoff game,
he does it,
whichever one that they're in.
I'm a little surprised, and maybe they did. He just turned them down, but I'm a little surprised that nobody came calling this year. And I think a little bit of that has to do with Ashton Genty, but I also wonder how much of it has to do with the fact that Luke Fickell has not been very successful at Wisconsin.
You know, the case study, overall case study of it all, does not bode well for the Danielsons of the world.
Sure.
However, I think you have to be a bit more discerning when you're going after the Group of 5 coach. Because the Fickell of it all is a whole nother situation. Because there is this is how we've recruited. This is what the DNA of our program as it stands right now is. And when you have a coach like Luke Fickell, who is extremely offensive minded, and I will not say that he's poor at his job, because he obviously wouldn't have gotten a job like Wisconsin by just being some geek off the street. But when you come in and you're trying to basically completely change the offensive...
I'm assuming you meant defensive minded, right?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, he's a former DC. But go ahead.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But when you try to come in and you try to change the mindset of a team and the scheme and game plan of a team, it doesn't always work out. Because you have a lot of players who are in your system right now who are of a certain ilk. Can Danielson be good this year without Ashton Genty?
We're going to find out.
I would assume so. I would assume he'll have a similar level of success. I don't foresee it being college football playoff level of success, but
got a path to it, though.
Out of all the other Group of 5 teams that we saw last year, I would still back Boise State as my horse, both literally and physically. Go Ponies.
To take this back to Nebraska for a second, this is a little bit like what you just said about Luke Fickell is what kind of concerns me about Matt Rule, just a little bit. Because it's a little bit of a double-edged sword with what Matt Rule has done, right? He has brought in a former head coach as an offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He's brought in three guys and himself that have all been defensive coordinators to some stretch on this staff, and throw Phil Snow into that discussion, obviously. What you just said about Luke Fickell, obviously one of the best defensive-minded head coaches / defensive coordinators / defensive line coaches of the last 10 to 15 years, without a doubt. I don't even think that's debatable. If you're talking about just on that side of the ball. But he goes out and he hires a Phil Longo and brings in a system that is not fit to the roster that they have, which I think is the point you were trying to make.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
you didn't have the pieces to run the system you were trying to run because of what you inherited. Flip side of that, Curt Cignetti brings 30 guys with him, plug and play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with Matt Rule, you've kind of seen him go out and get CEOs for all three phases of the game.
Yes.
I think Mike Eckler is the best, the number one special teams coordinator in the country.
I wouldn't disagree there.
He's running that system.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it already with the transfer in, leaving 2 months later. You've not only promoted John Butler, who has 1 year Big Ten defensive coordinator experience, but you've brought in Phil Snow to be a sounding board to run that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dana Holgorsen is obviously Mike Leach descendant, one of the top offensive minds in the country, and is not taking that position unless he's probably got 99.9% of the offense at his command. And that might even be a low number. What is Matt Rule's job? If he's not running the offense, and he's not running the defense, and he's not running the special teams, wasn't even in some of those meetings, and Phil Snow was helping with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Does that concern, like, it's listen, if they win, he's a genius, right? Like, he took his hands off and is delegating, blah, blah, blah. And all that matters is that they win. But if they don't win, how quickly are people going to go, well, does Matt Rule even know what he's doing? Or does he hire people underneath him that understand how to do the job better than him? Because, and I know people don't want to talk about this, Matt Rule wasn't the best at clock management a year ago. Matt Rule wasn't the best at clock management at Baylor. And I wonder how, and I don't know if we'll ever even get the answer to this, and it could be a moot point, but how much of it is Matt Rule wants to be able to manage on Saturdays and not worry about personnel and not worry about scheme and only focus on the game and what I think most people would highlight as his weak spot throughout his entire coaching career, even at Carolina, which is managing the clock. And that could be Luke Fickell's approach here too. But I think that's something that might not be a red flag, but it's definitely maybe a little yellow for me to hold up. Is I love the hires. I don't think anybody's going to look at this coaching staff and say this isn't a good staff or they're not knowledgeable or what have you. I just question how much is Matt Rule involved versus does it even really need to be? And if they're winning, that obviously doesn't matter.
Yeah. So to kind of, I don't know, even like buck up against your point a little bit, my biggest thing is the spread of coaches that he has. And actually, to get to the question that you asked in the middle of that, I think Matt Rule's role, yes, is going to be partially clock manager, but then I think at the same time, it's also overall CEO of the program and, to be honest, chief motivation officer.
Yeah, pretty good. That one.
That's kind of, it seems like that's what he's been leaning towards this whole time. And to be fair, as a defensive-minded head coach, I'm perfectly fine with Dana Holgorsen having 99.9, maybe even higher percentage of the offensive game plan in his hands. I'm glad that he has Phil Snow to bounce ideas off of and to bounce schemes off of. And the DNA of the team with Eckler on special teams, Dvorak at linebacker coach, and Uncle Don on the O-line, it's one where Nebraska's DNA is still there. They still have the core people who live and bleed red and who want to see this program succeed no matter what.
I agree with everything you just said. the one thing, and maybe it shouldn't matter to me, maybe it shouldn't matter to anybody, that gives me a little bit of pause for the cause, though, is Matt Rule makes $9.25 million a year.
He does.
And he has essentially brought in 3 separate head coaches to lead their side of the ball, respectively. And again, none of this matters if they win. But if they don't, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be questioning, does Matt Rule know what he's doing, or is he just hiring the right people?
So if he loses, yes, the conversation 100% changes. Because if he doesn't better his mark from last year, as we talked about last night, if he doesn't better his mark from last year, we're all going to be sitting here twiddling our thumbs and saying, we expected more. We wanted more out of you, Matt. But if he wins, and I'm going to put up a pie in the sky example here, so just stay with me for a second,
good.
Okay? When would you have made that criticism of Nick Saban? Bringing in Bill O'Brien, bringing in Lane Kiffin.
There's cachet there, though, right?
Bringing in former head coaches to be his DC, to be his OC, to run his special teams. It's a plan that we have seen in every single conference. We've seen it work to some level.
That's a good point.
To bring in former head coaches and to say, hey, I want you to focus on this. This is the only thing. And from everything I've ever heard about the way that Nick Saban ran his football team, in the way that he gave some guys carte blanche, it was more a, you have the reins, but I own the horse.
Sure.
Kind of approach where you can control the way that this goes however you want. But remember, I'm still the one who owns the horse. And at the end of the day, I am the one who is in charge and accountable, and I have to be the face of this. And I mean, maybe I'm a simpleton in the fact that I have really no reservations about Dana Holgorsen being our offensive coordinator.
I don't think many people do.
I have slight hesitations about John Butler being our defensive coordinator.
I think more people are concerned about that.
As I should. And I have zero problem, as you already stated, with Eckler being our special teams coach. He's, like you said, he is the best at coaching special teams. And I think it'll be interesting to see this year because we're now going to finally get a full year of Dana Holgorsen as our offensive coordinator with some of the guys that I'm sure that he handpicked, or at least said, I want this guy. I want Dane Key. Looking at tape, being in that room, and honestly, Matt Rule is running this like it is an NFL team at this point, I'm sure, where it is a collaborative effort where everyone from Wednesday to Friday sits down in the big room at the conference table, watches game tape, and they say, what can we make better? What worked? What didn't work? And I'm sure Matt Rule gives everyone a voice, but at the end of the day, he is a buck stops here kind of guy because he understands the Nebraska media well enough now to know that he is the man who will be taking the slings and arrows of the Nebraska media.
So I kind of want to take everything you just pointed out, which I think were all great points, and turn it on its ear a little bit because you made a point there about
you love the ear turn.
I do, but you made a point to say, that we've seen bring in the head coach from this place and do the revamp tour with them, and Nick Saban was the best at it, and it's worked. We've never seen it not work, right? There isn't that moment. So it's obviously you always want to put yourself around smart people, and especially if you're at the top of the food chain, you probably want to be the least smart person in the room because it makes you look smarter, right? But you've now, like, for all the ailments that Nebraska football has had in the past, on its face, you don't have that this year. You have the established offensive coordinator. You have 4 defensive coordinators on staff.
Yep.
You have an elite special teams coordinator. You have a 5-star quarterback. You have 2 number 1 wide receivers and a very talented sophomore coming back that seems like in this offense should flourish more than anybody. And I hate to keep bringing it back to this, but you're only returning 1 rushing touchdown from a year ago from a running back standpoint. Take Ja'Cory Barney's 3 out of it. Hell, if you want to throw it in there, make it 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the problem is if we're talking 7-5, 6-6 this year, you can't really blame anybody other than Matt Rule.
Yeah, because he's the one who built the program.
Well, a couple things, because even if you want to point at, and maybe what you just said, if you want to point at, well, they didn't bring back much rushing touchdowns, and they couldn't get their lead running back from a year ago to come back from a touchdown scoring standpoint, because obviously Dante Dowdell has already gone to Kentucky and isn't coming back for another year. But Matt Rule didn't go out and get another transfer portal running back either, and was good with what he had. So if the running game suffers, there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, well, Dana Holgorsen likes to throw the football, and it's not about running, which if you're saying that, you don't know much about Dana Holgorsen, but I know it's going to be a thing. But you've got the quarterback. You've got 2 established offensive linemen. You're returning now you lose Nash and Ty, but that's supposed to be Matt Rule's forte, right? That he's supposed to be a defensive line guy. So in theory and on its face, that shouldn't be an issue ever. And listen, I'm a little bit more high on this defensive line and specifically the pass rush than I think a lot of people are. And I've been adamant that I think Nebraska is going to be drastically improved from a year ago. But I've been known to be a nitpicker and a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it's really intriguing to me. What we started this off talking about the parameters of college football, right? Like, why has Luke Fickell been a failure? What does it look like for Boise State, and what would it need to be to get a head coach hired that makes a playoff run now? And we're about to get into this in a minute with our hot seat conversation. It's going to be really difficult in this day and age to fire a head coach and pay buyouts. So I think you're going to see the most extreme on both sides. I think it's going to be really difficult to fire guys and pay them a ton of money. But I really wonder how much big name schools, or maybe not even big name schools, big name adjacent schools, the Oklahoma States. I'm thinking about teams that are probably going through a coaching change in the next couple of years that may not necessarily have well, I guess Oklahoma State's probably not in that discussion. That's probably bad. Let's go with Mississippi State. Teams that are in power conferences that don't necessarily have the payroll to go out and make the splash higher versus cutting a guy that they paid too much money to come in before the House settlement. And it's going to be really interesting where those blames start to fall on teams that aren't very successful. This is the After Hours Lounge. If you missed this segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours. 1620 was brought to you by Cunningham's Pub. Has it been a while since you stopped down to the Blackstone District? Were you worried about parking? That's why you haven't gone down there. All of that has been settled. There's a brand new parking garage right across the street from Cunningham's. It's less than a 5-minute walk from the front door. Stop in, try our favorites, the smoked wings, peanut butter and jelly flavor. They've got the house-made buffalo that doesn't taste like any buffalo you've ever had. If you're feeling a little adventurous, try the blueberry sriracha. Maybe not two combinations of flavors that you think would be great. Derek will blow your mind with it. Stop in and try Cunningham's at Blackstone tonight. We'll be right back. Who's going to be on the hot seat after the 2025 season in both college and pro football? Spoiler alert. We've already talked about one of my guys tonight. We'll talk about him when we come back. 1620 The Zone.
Turn off the video, you beat yourself up, bring yourself down.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob with Williams Law. Listen, I had lunch with Bob the other day, and he was telling me about some of the cases that he's had to deal with, and just there seems to be a trend in the Nebraska area of kids getting in trouble in parking lots. Whether your son or daughter is driving a car, maybe they're in a vehicle with another child that was making a bad decision, and they're facing litigation. Maybe you don't understand what you have as rights as a parent. So maybe your son or daughter is facing court for the first time and you're scared. You don't need to be. You need to work with a lawyer with the caliber of Bob Williams. Bob and his team are going to walk you through the legal process, sit you down, explain yours and your son or daughter's rights, and get you ready for your day in court. They're going to give you a free, no obligation legal consultation to make sure Williams Law is the right fit for you. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com and work with Bob and his team tonight.
1, 2, 3. All right. Got to know how to hold it. Like on him and roll it. Mashed potato. Do the alligator.
Welcome back inside the After Hours Lounge, where you can do the alligator any night from 6 to 8 p.m. as the sports schedule allows. Brought to you by Bellevue University. Download the BU Bruins app to your smartphone to keep up on all the championship action happening on Bellevue's campus this spring. Just Jimmy Allen, Dave Campion with you tonight. Our good friend John Schreiner calling Creighton softball tonight. But even though it is softball season, even though it is spring, we're going to give you two coaches from both the collegiate and professional ranks that are going to be in the hot seat after football season. Dan, I'm going to go start us off with my two college coaches. My first one is Hugh Freeze. Never had fewer than 8 wins other than his last year at Ole Miss and all the turmoil happened. Never had fewer than 8 wins at Liberty. Now back-to-back 500 or less seasons at Auburn. 0-2 against Alabama. That's never going to get the job done, even though it's been very close. Obviously, just lost by 4 points this season. Probably a little bit closer than Nick Saban wanted it to be a year ago. Or 2 years ago, I guess. But there was a lot of risk in bringing Hugh Freeze back and all the turmoil around him, the reasons he left Ole Miss. And when you bring him in, basically because he was owning Nick Saban and now is 0-2 against Alabama in his first couple of shots at Auburn and goes below 500, I don't think things look too great for Hugh Freeze after year number 3, especially if he can't find a way to win at least 8 games this season.
Yeah, he's got to get up there in the win column.
My number 2 coach in the college ranks, mentioned him earlier, it's Lincoln Riley. Very similar to Hugh Freeze, and we talked about this earlier with Lincoln Riley's offense. How, like, we talked about this with Chip Kelly, kind of talked about this a little bit with Scott Frost. How much of it is Lincoln Riley and Hugh Freeze are losing their touch versus, hey, maybe college football just caught up to these offensive systems, right? Offensive genius 8 years ago, Lincoln Riley was considered the second coming to most people. But since getting to USC, we mentioned it, won 11 games in his first season, 8 games in his second season, and 7 in his third season. Without Caleb Williams this season, you only win 7 games. And without a college football playoff run, especially when you're not necessarily rubbing people the right way out in Los Angeles, I don't think Lincoln Riley's the head coach at USC unless they make the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, that one wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Who are your 2 coaches in the college ranks?
Number 1 is the man who heads up LSU, who has the fakest Creole accent of all time, Brian Kelly. He's one. Honestly, I'm surprised he has survived this long. He has had a few decent seasons, but if he's not college, just like Lincoln Riley, if he's not college football playoff material this season, I have a feeling he's getting booted out the door, especially with some of the crazy recruiting classes and all of the talent that you can bring into an LSU.
Won a Heisman Trophy, though. Got a Heisman Trophy winner at Baton Rouge.
Yeah, but is that he won the Heisman, or is that Jaden Daniels won the Heisman? You couldn't make it to a college football playoff with a Heisman Trophy winning Jaden Daniels. And
took the NFL by storm.
And with Malik Neighbors by his side.
Fair enough.
That to me is enough to make me go, probably not going to be the guy next year. If you don't make the college football playoff, or at least are coming into the last probably 2 weeks fully engulfed in that conversation.
Probably doesn't help his cause that Notre Dame didn't lose a step when he left either.
No, it does not.
Who's your number 2?
My number 2, and this is, so I did it as guy who I think is 100% hot seat, and then guy who is got to prove right off the bat that he's not on the hot seat. And for me, that's Mike Norvell.
Oof.
After the season that they had last year, midway.
Why did they not do well last season, Dan? They should have made the college football playoff the year before.
They should have, but I mean, what was it? Week 2, 3? We were already calling for FSU to get rid of Norvell, and we were kind of surprised that they let him hang on this long throughout the entire season. We were surprised when the season was over that he wasn't gone.
It's a large buyout.
He gave himself a little bit of goodwill at the end of the year. Obviously, with the previous season having gone so well for them, it's a little bit of a, maybe he still has the magic kind of situation. But if he doesn't show vast improvement this year, because that FSU faithful, they are one of the more fanatical and ready to gut you like a fish fan bases in all of college football, they'll get rid of him if he shows up like he did last year.
Well, yeah, and he restructured his deal to help with the buyout situation too at the end of the season. He's set to make $9.9 million in 2025. The buyout at the end of last year was over $64 million. That number drops by 30 million after this season as well. So if it doesn't go well at Tallahassee this year, yeah, I think he's gone this season. He might be gone midway through the season if that's the case. Let's move on to the NFL. And I'm going to put it this way. For both of these guys, I'm going to be surprised if they both have head coaching jobs at their current location at the end of this season.
Wow. Okay.
And one of them is going to surprise you. One is not. The first one is Brian Daboll. I like Brian Daboll a lot. And I think that he will get another head coaching job when he's done in New York. This marriage just has not worked out. And they need to find it doesn't help with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. But they haven't done enough to help him win football games. And it's just not a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of surprised he's coming back this year, but I guess it is what it is.
He was coach of the year 2 years ago.
And got Daniel Jones a lot of money.
Yeah.
The other one's Zach Taylor.
Yep.
And record-setting offense a year ago, but you missed the playoffs. And if you're Cincinnati, you're finally paying players for the first time. Well, some of them anyway.
A few.
Yeah, and if your ownership is changing philosophy for the first time ever and breaking out the bank to try to get Joe Burrow to a Super Bowl, and you miss the playoffs for a second year in a row when you have Lamar Jackson winning MVPs and the Pittsburgh Steelers consistently going 500 or better, and the Cleveland Browns are just kind of there. But
yeah,
if you're Zach Taylor and you've got a generational talent like Joe Burrow, it is unacceptable to miss the playoffs, in my opinion. And if he does it 2 years in a row, it's probably going to cost him his job. Who do you got in the hot seat in the NFL, Dan?
Number one, who is 100% on the hot seat, is Mike McDaniel. If he can't make it work this year, and all signs...
I don't know, man. That ownership group will love him.
They do, but can Love really make up for not making the playoffs?
We'll see.
That's kind of the amazing thing, because he's another one of those guys, like a Shanahan, like a LaFleur, that he was touted as this wunderkind.
Yep. Him maybe more than the other two.
Yeah, of the Washington Commanders 4, as I like to call them, where it was like, these 4 guys, these are going to be the best head coaches in the NFL. And for 3 of them,
it's working out.
It's pretty much been the case. Got one who's gone to 2 Super Bowls. You have one who's won 1, and you've got one who's trying his darndest.
Yeah. He looks cool while doing it.
Then you've got Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
Who wears his fancy shoes and has great relationships with all of his players.
Randomly does push-ups during workouts.
But can't seem to turn that relationship
into
wins, in the win column.
It might be the one thing that saves his job. And I think he should be on the hot seat. But the one thing that I think may save him is there's always been this weird relationship with Tua and the ownership group, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like, can you basically get Tua to fall on the sword for you? And listen, he got banged up again at the end of last season. I don't think Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy that comes in and saves your job, but he may be the scapegoat in this whole situation. So we'll see. But I agree. I think he should be on the hot seat. I think they find a way to blame this on Tua if it doesn't work out, though.
Oh, yeah. And I will say, so Zach Taylor was going to be my pick.
Okay.
But in fairness, where's my other one that I wrote down? This is another one. It's a moderately hot seat.
Okay.
It's warming up, and it's
lukewarm.
It's Raheem Morris from the Atlanta Falcons. I almost said Hawks.
Yeah.
Why do you have so many bird mascots, Atlanta? Yeah, Raheem Morris from the Atlanta Hawks.
Still not with the Hawks, Dan. He coaches the Falcons. That's the other team.
Yes, he coaches the Falcons. And unfortunately, he made the bright decision last year to stick with Kirk Cousins for just a wee bit too long. And then the end of the season, his OC, Zach Robinson, told him, hey, we got to move on from Kirk and bring in Michael Penix. Michael Penix in his second season looked really good.
His first season. He was a rookie last year.
Is it? Was he a rookie last year?
He was in the national championship game the year prior.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who all these guys are.
Yeah.
Too much football. But Raheem Morris, if it's kind of, just needs to get his second winning season. I think that's all it'll take for his seat to stay completely and utterly neutral. Because I don't think that ownership group is one that they don't like to have to pay guys out when they kick them out the door. And Raheem Morris has a pretty good amount of cash that's sitting on his deal right now.
Well, and losing your last game this season to the Panthers, that's not helping anything.
But you've got Penix, you've got Bijan. That should be enough to jumpstart a little bit of your offense in the way that you would want it to.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a little bit of local flavor there too with them drafting Xavier Watts this year also. Yeah, like, again, I hate to make it about quarterbacks, but it all seems to be about quarterbacks, right? I mean, how much do you blame Raheem Morris for Michael Penix's shortcomings in year two if he can't get there? Because I think we all agree they're moving on from Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And who's available? I think that's going to be a big deal in this in this coaching carousel in this offseason too, because we just talked about Brian Daboll a minute ago. Brian Daboll with Michael Penix Jr. in an offense seems like a lot of fun. So we'll see how that all works out. That's who we have on the hot seat. Who do you have on the hot seat? Let us know at After Hours 1620 on Twitter. If you missed this segment, check it out at SoundCloud.com/After Hours 1620. It's brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. If you're looking for a new job, maybe you don't have HVAC experience. That's okay. Controlled Comfort will get you trained up. Maybe you're an HVAC expert and you're looking for the best in town to work for. That's Controlled Comfort as well. Check out ControlledComfort.com and apply tonight. We'll be right back finding out what's trending on social media here on 1620 The Zone.
He's the king around town. Dancing, glancing with.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Pepper Jack's Grill. 10 great locations throughout the Omaha area. 3 brand new sides. That's right. You don't have to just get a Philly and fries anymore. You could mix it up. Live a little dangerously. Get the jalapeno poppers. Maybe get the spicy ranch to dip it in. Double the spice, double the flavor. There's also cheese curds. We know you love being from the Midwest. Show your support by getting some cheese curds. Dip in regular ranch tonight. And then also, there's the onion rings. You can't beat an onion rings with a burrito or those famous steak fries that Dan Campion always tells you about. Just make sure you grab some of that spicy ranch on the way out the door. It's Pepper Jack's Grill. 10 great locations. So good, it should be illegal to sell. Wrapping up the first hour here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. Download the BU Bruins app to your smartphone to keep up to date on all things Bellevue athletics. Do we need to do it?
Do you need me to make it the Pope?
I think we need to make it the Pope because we got to talk about this. I'll talk for a minute. Can you find something social media soundbite adjacent to the Pope, which is not something I ever thought I would say out loud?
Not something I ever thought I would hear on this show.
Yeah,
Let's go for it.
I'm famously not Catholic, but this seems very relevant to culture today. There has been a new Pope announced, and for the first time, he's American-born, which is the second time that there's been a first time in the last two Popes. Obviously, the previous one, South American. This one is from Chicago, Illinois. Google it, but is also a Villanova grad. And Dan has the social media soundbite ready to go. I love Alan Parsons' project.
Well, if I had known that they weren't going to have Jesse the Buckeye, if you're going to do the Alan Parsons Project Bulls entrance music over the Pope getting revealed to the public for the first time, at least give me some height and weight stats. You know? Give me some like standing at 6'1" out of Chicago, Illinois via Peru.
I just think it's really interesting that the conference that was almost dubbed the Catholic Seven is the first American conference to have a Pope be an alumni of it. Obviously,
welcome to the Big East, Vatican.
That's right. Pope Leo the 14th is a Villanova graduate, so maybe he's got some takes. You know, we used to have we used to have President Barack Obama break down his bracket in when he was in the office.
Oh yeah,
maybe we can get Pope Leo to give us his bracket for the NC or the Big East tournament in New York.
And I'll tell you, so obviously, as I probably have, I know I've mentioned it to you before. You know me all that well, but to our listeners, my wife is from Chicago. And
Dan's thrilled that the Pope's a Bears fan.
No, I am not. But according to her, people are going absolutely nutso crazy pants right now in Chicago because the Pope is from there. He is a White Sox fan, and the memes that folks from Chicago have been making.
A lot in common with John Schreiner, huge Catholic, White Sox fan.
But there is a small sub shop in one of the towns that he actually lived in for a while, or the suburban municipality kind of places in Chicago, whatever you want to call it, wards, I guess is what they call them.
Fair.
In Chicago, Beverly has a place called Mr. Sub, and people have been making pictures of the Pope holding submarine sandwiches from Mr. Sub, putting him to the Chicago Bulls theme music. The White Sox today put up a, don't worry, Sox fans. Our Pope is a White Sox fan. Maybe they're going to be blessed by God now, hopefully.
Reddit College Football's page posted out, time taken to get picked. New Pope, 2 days. Shitter Sanders, 3 days. People forget. Hey, if you missed the social media soundbite tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours. 1620 was brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. If your business needs help with social media marketing, website design, or online advertising, pixelfiremarketing.com is here to help. Their social media experts will ignite your social media presence, entice your ideal client, and engage your brand online. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. Dan Campen got in the bag. Did buy or sell today. We'll talk about it when we come back. 1620 The Zone.
Never comes easy. Hey, travel to the top of the world.
Hey, everybody. It's Jimmy Allen here for Paul Davis Restoration. Listen, it's been very nice over the last couple of days. You know it's not going to last. Seasonal storms are right around the corner, and be prepared before they happen. If you get hit with hail damage, maybe a little bit of water seeps into your house, causes some mold or some mitigation, you need to get a hold of Paul Davis. 402-533-0373. Have Paul Davis come out and restore your home to the way it was before tragedy hit. Call 402-553-0373 tonight. Top of the second hour here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. You don't become number one in Omaha for over a decade by accident. Head over to pyramidroof.com. Book a free estimate for your windows, your roof, your gutters, your siding. They do it all. Check out pyramidroof.com tonight. It's time for Bar So, where Dan Campion has got some questions for us.
The norm, Jimmy. It's a great thing to stick to. First-round draft picks always get fully guaranteed deals, but the Texans are breaking with tradition and giving rookie wideout Jaden Higgins a 4-year, $11 million deal, fully guaranteed. Buy or sell, we see the Texans starting a trend.
I buy, and I'm really surprised to say that because I think it was about 6 months ago on this very radio program, Dan, I said, because of the Deshaun Watson scenario, I don't ever see another fully guaranteed contract in the NFL ever. Really surprised this is happening with a franchise like Houston, who has a young and talented quarterback and a lot of talent around their roster. But also, this is a really bad precedence to start if you're any NFL franchise, because if a rookie is getting this that has proven absolutely nothing, why am I not? Is a question everybody in that locker room probably should start asking.
Yeah, and what is it? Is it Deshaun Foster is their head coach?
DeMeco Ryans.
DeMeco Ryans.
Deshaun Foster is the head coach of the UCLA Bruins, which is in Los Angeles.
Oh, how could I forget?
Yeah.
His reasoning behind it was that it was a guy that they really wanted and that they're willing to pay him because he is tall, rangy, and lanky in the way that they want.
Better pay Tank Dell then.
Which is a non-response response to give to the media about this kind of a situation. But I think this is a precedent that is going to be set now, especially for some of the rookie contracts in the second and third round.
It's incredible
that we start
a guaranteed
seeing
contract for somebody that's not even played a snap of football
and isn't a first round guy. That's the crazy thing to me.
Incredible
is that he's not first round, yet he's getting the guaranteed money. Moving on to, well, nothing. At 46 years old, most athletes will retire or stay retired, but not Manny Pacquiao. Pac is coming out of retirement to come for the WBC welterweight belt against Mario Barrios. Buy or sell, you're buying this pay-per-view.
I am not buying this pay-per-view. I'm gonna tell my favorite Manny Pacquiao story. We were heading to the post-fight presser for the Spence fight in Vegas, and Manny Pacquiao is somehow standing by himself in a hallway right outside of the hall to walk down for the presser. And myself and Rob Love are standing there looking around, and I went, "Hey, that's Manny Pacquiao." So we went over, and as I started to shake his hand, people with cameras just started to swarm him. So we walked away. So that's my favorite Manny Pacquiao story. Very nice man. Shook my hand, said hello, and that's about all the time he had to do so. But B, he's 46. Why do we need to? He's done everything in boxing. He's been a diplomat in his home country.
He's the mayor of his hometown.
Yeah, just go do something else, man. You don't need the money. You don't have anything left to prove. You did the Floyd Mayweather fights. You're 46. Right off into the sunset, man. It surprises me that a fighter would look at the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. And now, listen, Pacquiao's 14 years younger than Mike Tyson is, but to go, that needs to be the lasting memory of me in a ring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see this. I hope this doesn't happen.
Yeah, sell. Can smell that cash grab from about a mile away. Jimmy?
That's me.
Your Yankees are on top of their division over the dreaded a-holes from Boston.
Correct.
And it turns out the winners just keep
all
on winning.
All teams from Boston suck is what you're saying, huh, Dan? How the Celtics do it?
Bad. And we're going to get to that later.
We are.
Giancarlo Stanton has said that
his fault.
Will be back in the lineup as soon as he is available. Buy or sell, we see the same level of production from Stanton upon his return.
I sell, and I wonder how much this time that he's been away has made the Yankees kind of rethink his purpose in this lineup. Now, listen, he can hit it a mile, but he's very limited in any other situation. Now, that's usually enough to make you some money in Major League Baseball, but I really wonder if this is the last year of Giancarlo Stanton in a Yankees uniform or a baseball uniform at all, for that matter, because of his limitations everywhere else on the field. He'll be a nice piece, But Aaron Judge is having a record season, and as long as you got that guy, I don't think it matters.
I mean, I like the addition of Giancarlo Stanton. I don't think you're going to see the same production. Obviously, an injury that he, like the one that he had, is going to lead to a downtick, but he's still a get on base monster. Put him in at 2 or 3 in that lineup. Let Judge hit 4th. Bombs away.
That makes runs happen.
Yes, it does. We're only going to go with 4 tonight.
That'll work.
Because I think we're going to get to my 4th question.
We're a bit behind it. Yeah, good.
In the other one. We love a good list in the lounge, as we
famously
showed in the first segment. And Jeff Borzello has provided. He has his early and weekly now top 25 out today. And he has our Creighton Blue Jays at 19. For comparison, he has UConn and St. John's at 2 and 3 respectively. Buy or sell?
In the country?
In the country. Buy or sell that our Jays are properly rated.
Listen, both UConn and St. John's are probably 1 and 2 in the Big East in transfer portal production and guys that they got coming in. I think Creighton would be 3rd on that list. I think Creighton's a top 10 team. I don't think they've gotten the credit that they deserve for what they've done in the offseason. There's still a little bit of an unknown in Blake Harper. Can he really do what he did at Howard at Creighton? Owen Freeman and Josh Dix, not a ton of success in a postseason for him at Iowa, but a ton of success from a productivity standpoint. You've got a guy in Nick Graves who's coming and going up in competition from playing at Charlotte to Creighton. What can Ty Davis be in year 2? Spoiler alert. We just interviewed Ty Davis for the Roll Jays podcast. That episode will drop on Monday. 19. I think they're a top 10 team, and I think they should be. So I think they're way too low.
Same. Yeah, they're way too low on this list. A couple of the teams that they had above them, like Michigan, I saw was way, way above, and so was UNLV, which I can understand because UNLV has been
good, though. Yeah,
UNLV has been pretty active in the portal. But next year's Michigan squad, I don't
have
really
some questions to answer for sure.
I don't really see them being as good as predicted.
Who was this? Who put out this list?
Jeff Borzello.
I like Jeff Borzello. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. And he's got Purdue at number 1.
That's the Matt Painter effect.
Yeah. I don't see Purdue being the number 1 team at all next season, but that is it.
If you missed Buy or Sell, check it out tonight at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620. It was brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. If you're looking for a new career, maybe you're looking for a new line of work as well, check out ControlledComfort.com. They're hiring new and experienced HVAC professionals. If you've been in the industry a while and you're an expert at HVAC, you want to work for the premier HVAC shop in town, check out ControlledComfort.com tonight. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. It's Hoops Talk. We're talking the NBA on the other side of the break. 1620 Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob Williams of Williams Law. Everybody makes bad decisions from time to time. Maybe you consumed a little bit too much of alcohol and got behind the wheel of a car. Now you're facing a DUI. I don't have to tell you. You already know. It's a bad idea, and it's expensive. But you need representation that can represent you and answer your questions before you get to court. How can you do that? You can head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. Bob and his team are going to sit you down. They're going to give you a no-obligation free legal consultation. What does that mean? They're going to explain your rights, get you ready for your big day in court, answer those hard-hitting legal questions that you have. Check out WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. 7:26 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Launch, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. Over a decade of being number one doesn't happen by accident. Head over to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate tonight. Brian Mutzer from Husker Online still coming up. Before we get there, we got to talk hoops. And for the first time in the modern playoff era in the NBA, two teams that have started the season with 60 wins are in an 0-2 spot in a playoff series. The Cleveland Cavaliers come in as the number one seed in the East, now trail the Indiana Pacers 2-0. And on the other side of that same bracket, the New York Knickerbockers currently lead the Celtics 2-0 in that series. Obviously, both the Celtics and the Cavs, the 1 and the 2 seed, and come in north of 60 wins. Dan, I wanted to make this comparison last night. We got kind of stuck. What's happening in Indianapolis right now reminds me a little bit of this telltale story that happened in Toronto. Tyrese Halliburton is having a Kawhi Leonard-esque run in the playoffs right now, where he's the guy, everybody knows he's the guy on his team, and he's delivering in clutch situations in games where they're not supposed to. And obviously, Aaron Naismith in the other night, along with Miles Turner, put up 23 apiece, while Tyrese Halliburton was dealing with a hamstring injury. And listen, Aaron Naismith also got that key foul where he took a shot to the face from Donovan Mitchell in that Game 2 win over the Cavs. But that shot where Tyrese Halliburton had the chance to tie it with the free throw, goes up and gets his own rebound, takes it out, no timeout called, takes a step back three and hits it to give gives the Pacers the win. Just felt like that moment in Toronto where Kawhi Leonard puts that shot up and lands on his rear end, bounces on every piece of the cylinder before it fell through the net. They just felt like the exact same moment. I think I'm putting all my chips in on Indiana to go on a run to the NBA Finals.
You know, I said this early on in the season because everyone was amazed when the Cleveland Cavaliers were the number one team in the East.
I would not be amazed that any team that has Donovan Mitchell on it is a top number one team, by the way.
And that is what I said. I said they have Donovan Mitchell, who is an automatic bucket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the 2-0 loss the other night, he had 49 points, 9 assists, and 4 steals.
Oh, is that good?
Yeah, that's really good. Also, that's almost half of his team's points. Donovan Mitchell is always going to get his, but the supporting cast around him is wildly streaky. Whereas Tyrese Halliburton,
let's get a lot of help
for Indiana, is that dude, but he has guys around him who have bought into that vision.
He missed half the game the other night.
And they really want to bring Indiana a championship. I don't know what it is about this Pacers team, but it feels really special. And Miles Turner, the fact that he went 23-8 and had 5 blocks says a lot about the will to win of this basketball.
And that's kind of what they've done all season, right? Is if one man can't do it, the rest of the team picks it up. Who do you have in the finals? Give me your prediction now.
So the way that it's starting to look, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Knicks Nuggets.
Okay.
But see, this is where things get kind of tricky, because on Monday night, if you would have asked me, I would have said Nuggets 100%, definitely going to the finals.
I think I got Thunder Pacers. I still think that Oklahoma City is the best team in basketball, and I think Indiana is the hottest team in basketball, and they meet for the NBA title. We'll talk to Brian Muntz and get his thoughts on everything going on with Husker recruiting on the other side of the break. If you missed this segment, check it out. SoundCloud.com/After-Hours 1620 was brought to you by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Wedding season is upon us, and if you need a suit for a big day, maybe it's not quite your big day, maybe you don't really like the groom very much, you want to show him up. You know how you do that? You stop by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. I got dressed for my wedding at Jerry Ryan. Dan Campion got dressed for his wedding at Jerry Ryan. Keep it an after-hours tradition. Stop and get dressed for your wedding at Jerry Ryan. 78th and Dodge. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years. B Months, Husker Online. We come back 6-20 in the zone.
Hi there, folks. Dan Campion here once again to remind you that Pepper Jack's has 10 great local locations. So your Pepper Jack's favorites and all of their new appetizers and, as I like to call them, snack appetizers are near you wherever you are listening to our wonderful show right now. Whether it's My State Gunner Philly, a chicken rice bowl, or hey, they even have wraps. You can get it however you want it tonight at one of Pepper Jack's 10 great local locations.
$7:35 on a Thursday night here on 1620 Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. If you're looking for a free estimate on your roof, your windows, your gutters, your siding, all you got to do is head to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate. tonight. Brian Munzer from Husker Online and On 3 now joins us here on After Hours. Munzer, good evening, sir. How are you?
What's up, guys?
Just trying to stay awake. It's been a long day, and John Schreiner's left us to call softball tonight, so I'm holding it down solo.
Oh, you are flying this one by yourself.
Well, Dan Campion is here, so it's like 1.5 people.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. And on the air too.
Yeah.
Man. What the heck?
There's nothing I don't say with the mics on that I wouldn't tell Dan to his face.
My mom's listening, Jimmy.
Shout out to Dan's mom. Hey, Jaden Warren, the 4-star wide receiver from Texas, has set up an official visit to Nebraska, and it kind of feels like some of the star power behind Trey Taylor is starting to get some wandering eyes to Nebraska as well.
No, I agree. I mean, that was announced tonight, and I just ran a story on T. Ellis, who's a 4-star 2027. Reached out to him. We got a little bit of a tie there. I mean, he's over in the Fort Worth area, big 7-on-7 guy, so was kind of able to kind of use that as a way to get some comments. But I mean, he was not shy. I mean, and it goes for just about everybody that's talking about Nebraska right now. Trey Taylor is the big reason why people are looking at Nebraska. It's opened up their eyes. They know Nebraska is serious about recruiting. They know that they're going to be serious about bringing these guys in on campus. I think that a lot of these guys have these relationships with Trey, and I tried to, it's really difficult. It's not like these guys are like growing up next door to each other or even playing against each other in Pee Wee football or something like that.
Right.
That's not the way these connections are happening these days. These guys are seeing each other on other visits. They're going to some sort of a camp, a combine. They're bumping into one another. They know each other through 7-on-7, some big tournament that they're going to, or they just kind of grow up supporting one another. And it's one of like the coolest things ever to kind of watch them, have each other's backs and kind of celebrate the successes of the other guys around them. And that's been kind of one of the coolest things to watch happen here. And I think that that's a lot of the reasons why these guys, do know one another, because it's like, oh yeah, he's one of the best in the country. I saw him there. I picked up an offer from Nebraska or whomever, and
right.
And they go out there and they retweet it and they like it. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how well Trey can peer recruit with not just the 2027 class, but also the 2026 class and probably some of the 2028. And, especially with some of the comments that he's making about like how he's solid. I don't know how people could doubt his commitment. That's why he went through the process. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun for Nebraska fans to watch this.
Before we get to 27, we got to get to 26. And Zephyr Walker had EJ Barthel in his home today. He's one of Nebraska's top running back targets for the 26 class. How big of a get would he be for this staff?
Yeah, he's not a Bonner. Bonner's got that speed to Zephyr. I think he was running like a 10.8. But he's a KC guy. He's a Missouri guy. He's one of the guys I think that Nebraska, targeted on the previous staff, and I think it's still a guy that still plays very well into what Dana Holgorsen is trying to do with his offense, and what EJ Barthel, how he evaluates talent. I think that's always been very consistent. So I think it would be a huge get. He's got some bowling ball kind of appeal there when it comes to how he runs the football, how he gets yards after contact. He does have some speed. He knows a lot of guys on the team already too.
Right.
I think that's kind of a ace up Nebraska's sleep a little bit, is how many players he already knows that are on campus. He already knows that, are part of the team. He can go on there, chat with them, see how they like things at Nebraska. So I think that's always going to help. And it's not as big of a thing as what it once was like a year ago when it comes to like KC area players and getting into Missouri, especially after like Nebraska basically dumped, the majority of their 2026 board. But getting a player like Zephyr Walker is something that Nebraska needs to be able to do whenever they want to do it. And that's kind of critical when it comes to still putting together these high school recruiting classes.
speaking of running backs, Nebraska didn't get Shamar Brown, the transfer out of North Dakota State, the former Creighton Prep prospect. Do you think they needed to land a transfer portal quarter or running back, despite the coaching staff saying maybe not? And do you think Nebraska was really ever even in play?
I put in Tunnel Talk after he decided to go ahead and go to Miami that I could legitimately say for the first time I felt a little bit of concern. I think part of that is because there is a bit of a hole in the room when it comes to experience, like beyond EJ. And I think the other part of that is because Marty's such a great talent. You don't have that kind of opportunity all the time to bring somebody home and have that role ready for them, basically, that they're tailor-made to do. And that's the part, I think, to me, like that combination that really seemed to like sing and make it right for everybody involved for him to come back home and go to Nebraska. I mean, I think Nebraska can find ways around it, obviously. I think that there's, they're trying out some things, obviously, with Genatone being at running back. I think you have, all these questions about whether or not Parker or Booth can have a role this fall, for the team. Parker being hurt, Booth being, not necessarily a thumper kind of guy, but being a bigger back. So I think that there are some legitimate questions, and I think, you go beyond that and you go, well, Ives doesn't have much experience, although you've heard nothing but glowing statements about him since he was on campus. And what you have in EJ, but you need to find a guy that you can. I think EJ can do it from between the goal lines. Like, he could do everything that you ask him to do. You're going to need another guy to kind of come along with him, though, and take some pressure off, give him some breathers. And I'm not sure you really have that dude. I guess we'll have to see how it goes. But I think Marty being added to the roster could have been huge for this year's team.
We got the memo from the NCAA last night that grandfathered in scholarships are going to be granted even to guys that have been released at new schools. What did you think of the NCAA's ruling?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, nothing here seems to have made a lot of sense.
Sure.
I think they're trying to do what's best for the players finally, and that's big. I still feel like they have a tendency of kind of putting the carriage before the horse. And this was, I think, just another one of those examples of kind of somebody kind of pointing it out to them that you don't have to make these types of drastic cuts and force these schools to, cut ties with players, or players to feel like they're not capable and walking away and all those good things. So I think it's righting a wrong. And I think that that's going to be a good thing for those players to have that opportunity. I think it eventually gets there to where it's going to be that 105 hard roster limit, but having at least, I think, this opportunity to kind of help out in the meantime, I think it's significant, because I think it's a pretty brutal game right now that everybody was being forced to kind of play to get down to that level, like cutting 20% or so of all the players on the roster.
Brian Munson from Husker Online and On 3 joins us here on After Hours. Manny Pacquiao has come out of retirement to take a fight. What would it have to be for you to come out of retirement, put the boxing gloves on, Munson?
I don't think I've technically retired from boxing. Not that I ever really considered myself much of a boxer to begin with, unless it was like more of a Rocky guy, catch a couple with the face and then hopefully tire the guy out long enough to where you can maybe get a couple in. I don't, I considered a long time ago coming out of retirement, because I had these semi-pro football leagues down here in Texas. So that was probably 10, 12 years ago that those were kind of popping up there. I don't know if they're still around or not, but yeah, I'm good. I have a face for radio. I'll join you,
there you go,
once a week and talk to you about Nebraska football. But yeah, I have no boxing ambition.
Well, go find Brian Munson at Brian Munson _ on Twitter, where he's not retired. He's still tweeting, still writing for HuskerOnline.com as well. Munson, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next week.
Have a great night. See you.
That's Brian Munson. Follow him on Twitter. Follow his work at HuskerOnline.com. And if you missed this segment tonight, check it out at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620. It was brought to you by AX Plumbing, home or residential. They can do it all. Check out AXPService.com for all your plumbing, water heater, gas piping, or backflow prevention issues. AX Plumbing is locally owned and operated, and they'll leave your home or business cleaner than they found it. Check out AXPService.com tonight, where there's even a discount for current and former military members or first responders as well. Check out AXPService.com. Tonight, we'll give you our Pavilion Sanitation Trash Takes the Night. The other side of the break, 1620 Zone.
You can understand my dream. Yeah, I could be anywhere, and you could be there with me.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for our friends at Cunningham's Pub. Listen, we know we're on at 6 o'clock and it's a little bit later in the night. Maybe you don't have plans for happy hour tomorrow. You know what you need to do? You need to get down to the Blackstone District. 3 to 6 o'clock is their happy hour. They've got a special menu with special drink items on board as well. It's a little bit of a hidden gem down in the Blackstone District, what they do during happy hour. If you want to get on the secret action, stop down at Blackstone tomorrow. Try Cunningham's Pub. Tell Derek and the crew that the After Hours Lounge sent you. Put a bow on the After Hours Lounge on a Thursday night here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. You need a free estimate for your windows, your roof, your gutters, your siding. They do it all. Check out pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate tonight. It's time for our Papillion Sanitation Trash Takes of the night. What we'll do here is Dan and I will both give you a hot take to wrap up the show. We'll put a poll up on Twitter. You vote for whoever you think had the best take. Whoever receives the fewest amount of votes. We'll have the trashiest take of the night. You want to go first?
I would love to turn my mic, and I would love to say yes to that notion. The Boston Celtics are in trouble.
Ooh. Some are saying they're not the balls.
In a series like the one that they're in right now, where you get the absolute right and privilege to start in your own building, you have to pick up at least one game. Game one, thought it was a fluke. Thought there was no chance whatsoever that they were going to lose game number 2. And what do? They go out there and they lose game number 2. And I will hear all of the online discourse of Jalen Brunson, the ultimate foul merchant of all time, and that his bag is only as deep as bumping into someone and then flopping for a shot. But as I once heard many a basketball player say, if the ref's going to call it, then I'm going to do it. Because it seems to be working for them right now, and Jalen Brunson is on fire in this postseason. Boston needs to pick up both games at Madison Square Garden. Joey Colbert, I hope you're listening, the true and only Garden. Trash take done.
We got news today that Jadeveon Clowney has been cut by the Carolina Panthers. You will remember Jadeveon Clowney from such hits as he's the guy that killed that Michigan running back that one time and ripped his helmet off. I think we've seen the end of Jadeveon Clowney in the NFL. A guy that was expected to kind of set the league on fire, was the number 1 overall high school prospect, had a promising career at South Carolina with a lot of highlight reel hits, but took some plays off, and there was a lot of questions about what he would be in the NFL despite being the number 1 overall pick. I think we've seen the last of him in the NFL. He is an 11-year veteran. He is, yeah, no, it's been that long. He's 31 years old, and despite his attributes and one-of-one body types, it's just never been there as that guy in the NFL. And I think, unfortunately, we probably have seen the last of him in an NFL uniform. So he walks away from football. We're going to walk away from the After Hours Lounge tonight. Thank you to Brian Munzer for joining us. Thank you to Dan Campinen for being my plus half one tonight. And thank you to everybody that made us a part of your evening time. If you missed the show, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Allo Business. If you're a business owner and you're dealing with outdated solutions, maybe you don't even have voiceover solutions, Allo Business has you covered. You know what else they have? 24/7 live customer support. That's right. When you get a hold of Allo Business, not only whether it be on their website or whether it be over the phone, you're talking to a real life in the state of Nebraska person. Check out Allo Business for your business solutions today. For Dan Campinen, I've been Jimmy Allen. You know what? Coca-Cola is the official soft drink of the After Hours Lounge, and it's National Have a Coke Day. Go enjoy one, everybody. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Paul Davis Restoration. We all know somebody that's been affected by a fire, and you know it's never fun to deal with restoring your home, especially after a tragedy like that. But unfortunately, some days you have to make the phone call you never thought you would. When the day comes about when you don't want to have to pick up that phone to talk about restoring your home after a house fire, Paul Davis is going to be there for you. The number's 402-553-0373. So if you or someone you know is dealing with tragedy in the home, call 402-553-0373 and have the house restored to the way it was before the accident happened. Paul Davis Restoration, right here in Omaha.